I am vain, selfish, greedy for money and lustful. Occasionally, I even kill and set fire to people, but I know I am a good fairy. Gao Xian. A poem from the same path praises. Indifferent to fame and fortune, not fond of money, pure and pure, with a firm heart. Benevolent, benevolent, and righteous are the first, with boundless power and great immortality. Keywords of the novel. Unlimited magic and high immortal with no pop-ups, unlimited magic and high immortal. Download the complete collection of TXT, and read the latest chapters of Unlimited Magic and High Immortal. Chapter 1. Fengyue Baojian. You are listening at novelful.audio. Chapter 1. Fengyue Baojian Tingsha Mountain, Pegasus Collection. Gao Xian's legs trembled slightly as he lay against the wall, and he suddenly woke up from the nightmare. The first thing that caught his eye was the strangely shaped brass stove, which was 1 meter high and looked like a kettle without a spout. It had 3 legs like toads, and below was a brick pedestal. There is a passage for starting a fire below the pedestal, and there is a flue connected to the chimney. More precisely, this is a somewhat complex structure of a firewood stove. Gao Xian stayed for a while before sighing. This alchemy stove with a somewhat peculiar design was the one he ate with. It is already the 3rd day of his journey, and he has adapted to his new body and name, but he has not been able to adapt to his new identity. Alchemist. Gao Xian extended his left hand and silently recited in his heart, Jian Lai. He had an elegant bronze mirror in his hand out of thin air, with 4 words engraved on the handle. Fengyue Baojian. This Fengyue Baojian can be considered as a peripheral of Dream of the Red Chamber. It was a birthday gift from a friend, and we somehow traveled together. At this moment, a handsome and young face is reflected on the smooth mirror. Gao Xian usually reads water margin and watches budget movies, but he can't think of any suitable words to describe his current appearance. What sword eyebrows and starry eyes, with a face like a crown of jade, these are all space holes. It can only be said that he looks a bit like a young male actor, handsome, upright, and heroic. Especially black eyes, sparkling as if they can shine, that feels like there's a professional lighting technician shining light across from you. The only downside is a pale complexion, dark circles under the eyes, and an unhealthy appearance. I need this face to be single for over 30 years. Gao Xian touched his face with some narcissism, thinking of the days when he could only rely on his diligent hands, full of sighs. This is the only place where he is satisfied with time travel, with a vibrant young body and a hopeful handsome face. Rows of handwriting appeared on the surface of the Fengyue Baojian mirror. Gao Xian. Life expectancy 2466. Cultivation. Cultivate Qi level 2, 2/200, proficient in the second level of 5 elements skill, 15/200, Introduction to Fire Control Technique, 88/100, Introduction to Water Control Technique, 80/100, Introduction to Cleaning Techniques, 95/100, Proficient in Flying Feather Technique, 99/200, Introduction to Qingfeng Sword Technique, 33/100, Proficient in First Order Alchemy, 29/1000, Proficiency in Revitalizing Qi Pill, 55/200, Proficient in Gu Yuan Dan, 41/200, Proficiency in White Dew Pill, 11/200. Gao Xian studied for 2 days and basically understood the purpose of the Fengyue Baojian. This mirror can reflect his personal state and digitize various abilities. The problem is that his alchemy is in a gray state and cannot be used. Gao Xian tried many methods, but was unable to activate alchemy or change the data in the mirror. According to the memory left by the original owner, he is the alchemist of the pharmacy. The pharmacy provides medicinal herbs, and he provides pills. He currently owes the pharmacy 500 pills each for the Qi returning pill, Gu Yuan pill, and Bai Lu pill. He also has a very big problem. I secretly exchanged a batch of refined pills for red blood pills. The red blood pill is a powerful Qi training pill. The original owner took the red blood pill and broke through to the second level of Qi training, but somehow died, leaving his body for him. The large amount of medicinal materials consumed in alchemy has become a huge deficit. How did he explain to the pharmacy owner? A more serious problem is that the original owner's memory is incomplete, and so are the memories related to alchemy. Even if there are enough medicinal herbs, he is unable to refine pills now. Calculating the time, he should have submitted the first batch of pills 5 days ago. He doesn't know the consequences of not being able to hand over the pill, so there won't be any good fruit to eat. While Gao Xian was pondering a solution, he heard the courtyard door being pushed open with a clang. He was startled and quickly leaned over to the window to look outside. Through the crack in the window paper, Gao Xian saw the short and chubby Zhu shopkeeper, and saw the tall and chested owner Zhu Qinyang behind him. The two of them stood together, with a height difference of almost 2 feet, one chubby and the other tall. This combination left a deep impression on people. It also made Gao Xian recognize the other person's identity at a glance. Gao Xian sighed and tugged at the wrinkled Taoist robe on his body. He took a deep breath and pushed the door open to greet him. "Brother Zhu, sister Law, please sit inside quickly." Gao Xian presented a middle-aged social animal with a professional smile that had been practiced for 20 years, politely and warmly greeting each other. "Xiao Gao, how are you doing?" The fat-headed and big-eared shopkeeper Zhu asked with a smile. Gao Xian said with an embarrassed expression, "Brother Zhu, I'm in a hurry to break through to the second level of qi cultivation. The pill hasn't been refined yet. Once it's ready, I'll send it to you immediately." Zhu, the shopkeeper, smiled and said, "Xiao Gao, the cultivation process should proceed step by step, and you must not be in a hurry. A person who goes berserk and becomes demonic can lead to death." The landlady next to her had a cold and stern expression. She didn't speak, but she just stood there with a calm face, feeling very oppressive. Gao Xian felt guilty for a moment. His body was actually not short anymore, and according to him, it was still over 1.85 meters. Standing in front of the landlady, she was half a head short. In his memory, this landlady had 9 levels of qi cultivation and was extremely skilled at breaking people's bones, with explosive force points. However, this landlady has long eyebrows and deep eyes, 3-dimensional facial features, tight and smooth wheat-colored skin, and a loose blue Taoist robe that cannot cover her high chest and long legs. Her facial features are deep and profound, much like the movie version of Wonder Woman, with only slightly more delicate eyebrows and eyes. Upon closer inspection, Gao Xiankai discovered that the landlady was very attractive. There is such a beautiful woman in this place full of lust. Out of a man's instinct, out of his more than 30-year sullen nature, he couldn't help but take another look. The landlady frowned slightly, her beautiful emerald green eyes twirled slightly, giving Gao Xian a meaningless look. What does boss mean by this? Gao Xian didn't understand the meaning of the look in his eyes, but it didn't affect his obedience. He explained humbly, "Brother Zhu, I am eager to break through my cultivation, and it is also for better alchemy. The higher the cultivation level, the better the control over the heat, and the higher the quality of the pills refined." Gao Xian smiled apologetically and said, "Brother Zhu, sister Law, I didn't mean to delay either. A few days of grace, a few days of grace." Zhu, the shopkeeper, waved his hand and said, "Even if it's not for your master's sake, it's okay to delay for a few days." His chubby face was full of a friendly smile, as if it was nothing at all. "Is 10 more days enough for you?" Zhu, the shopkeeper, is so easy to talk about, which also makes Gao Xian breathe a sigh of relief. He smiled apologetically and nodded, "Okay, 10 days is enough. Once it's refined, I'll send it to you. Practice alchemy well and don't let down your master's expectations of you." Zhu, the shopkeeper, patted Gao Xian's shoulder and encouraged him with a look of elder care for the younger generation. "If you have any problems in life, you can tell me. Alright, I'll leave if I have something else to attend to. You don't need to give it away." Gao Xian hurriedly followed up to see off the guests, and Zhu, the shopkeeper, walked out of the door with a smile, showing great politeness towards Gao Xian. Following behind the shopkeeper Zhu Qinyang gave Gao Xian a deep glance before leaving. That gaze seemed to have a somewhat complex meaning. Gao Xian doesn't know why. Is sister.in.law interested in him? As the saying goes, dumplings are just as delicious, but we are not like that. No matter what he thought in his heart, Gao Xian still appeared to be very respectful and bowed to the chief inspector, escorting the Zhu shopkeeper and his wife out. The new book set sail. Please support us more. Bao with an outline and the ability to write long. Everyone can rest assured and not panic. I hope this is a good book. My standard for good books is, of course, having good grades. Market recognition is the key to making money. Secondly, one must have strength. A book can move, shock, be happy, joyful, and sad, provide people with extremely high emotional value, or expand the boundaries of imagination on a rational level, allowing people to gain knowledge and enlightenment, all of which can be considered powerful. Thirdly, it can withstand the test of time. At least 10 or 20 years from now, it's still worth watching. My ambition and determination are all in words, the rest is up to you. If you like this book, please support me greatly, gentlemen. The author of Eternal Youth bows and thanks. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. The Great Dipper Technique. You are listening at novelful.audio. Chapter 2. The Great Dipper Technique. When the shopkeeper Zhu and the other two walked away, Gao Xian finally breathed a sigh of relief. These two people don't even vomit their bones when they eat. You're so brave to play with them. Not far from the gate stood a skinny old man, smiling and speaking sarcastic words. The old man's bun was messy, his eyes were blue and black, his face was pale, and his black Taoist robe was covered in greasy wine stains. He looked like an old man addicted to wine. Gao Xian suddenly remembered that this old man was his neighbor next door, surnamed Wang, and his hobby was going to brothels to drink flower wine. A dishonest old man. Gao Xian doesn't want to get involved with such a person, he just assumed he didn't hear it. Seeing Gao Xian's honest appearance, old Wang became even more proud and smirked. Gao Xian closed the courtyard door behind his back and locked Lao Wang and his laughter outside. He hurriedly returned to his room. From the several Taoist books left by the original owner, Gao Xian took out the Essence of Alchemy and flipped through it. Although Zhu, the shopkeeper, was good at speaking, alchemy was his foundation, and he must master the art of alchemy as soon as possible. Since the original owner knows how to refine pills, taking a closer look may help him remember how to do so. After watching for a while, Gao Xian felt dizzy. He knows every word in this book, but when combined, he reads it in a daze, not knowing the southeast, northwest, and north. This reminded him of his experience of learning advanced mathematics. Gao Xian had no choice but to put down his book. This thing is really not something that can be done by hard reading. He sat in bed thinking for a long time, but couldn't think of any solution. A little black cat jumped onto the bed and called out 2 meows to Gao Xian. Are you hungry? Gao Xian lovingly touched the little black cat's head. This little thing is really cute. After spending a few days together, Gao Xian was able to roughly understand the little cat's thoughts. If a kitten wants to be masturbated, it will wag its tail and make a softer call. When hungry, the sound will be sharper and there will be no wagging of the tail. Getting off the bed, Gao Xian went to the neighboring kitchen to wash rice and cook. The color of the rice grains is emerald green, as small as a flower seed, with a faint crystal-like texture. This type of rice is called Qingyu Lingmi, which contains rich spiritual energy and is also very expensive. A inferior spirit stone can only be bought for 10 pounds. This is still the lowest level of Lingmi. The original owner was originally an alchemist, but with his alchemy skills, he was able to do well. I have stored half a vat of green jade rice at home. There are also some monster meat. Well, hidden in the cellar in the yard, where the temperature is very low, it can preserve meat for a long time. Eating and drinking are at least temporary worries. Gao Xian has also become accustomed to the life of a cultivator these days, skillfully starting a fire and cooking. The cooking stove is made of bricks and has a large iron pot. It's just a rustic stove iron pot for stewing geese, but it's even rougher. Gao Xian recited several syntactic mantras, pinched the seal with his hand, and a flame of about a foot long burst out from his fingertips. The firewood in the stove was quickly ignited. Gao Xian still feels excited every time he uses the fire control technique. It's a spell, not a deceitful magic. The fire control technique has little power, it's like carrying a large lighter with you. That's all, it completely shattered Gao Xian's previous physics knowledge. It was also the fire control technique that made Gao Xian realize that this was a real world of cultivators, and cultivators all possessed powerful powers in this regard. It is 100 times more dangerous than a beautiful country where everyone has a gun. Crossing this world, whether he wants it or not, it seems like he can't go back. Middle-aged social animals who have suffered from social abuse have long learned to accept reality. In that chicken soup article, it means everything is the best arrangement. Gao Xian is able to live a happy life despite being useless just by being able to think freely. Now he doesn't think about alchemy anymore. He focuses on cutting and frying the monster meat, then adding water, rice, and salt, preparing to make delicious hand-grabbed rice. The large iron pot is fixed on the stove and is only suitable for steaming, boiling, and stewing. This way, it is very convenient to cook and take out the dishes together. In no time, the meat aroma overflowed. The little black cat meowed on the stove, but dared not get too close. Opening the rough wooden lid of the pot, the Qingyu lingmi was already quite large. After absorbing enough water, it expanded several times, and Gao Xian filled a large wooden basin. Take out a coarse ceramic bowl and give a small bowl to the little black cat. The remaining rice and meat were eaten by Gao Xian in one go. It has to be said that the green jade spirit rice is truly fragrant, and the flesh of demon beasts is even more fragrant. After being full, not only are the taste buds and stomach satisfied, but the spiritual energy in the body is also unusually warm and comfortable, indescribable. Gao Xian let out a deep hiccup. If it weren't for Zhu and his wife causing trouble, this simple yet fulfilling life could be called happiness. Eat more, don't miss home when you're full, he said softly as he masturbated the little black cat buried in its meat. The little black cat didn't know if it was responding to Gao Xian or eating happily. It meowed twice. Eating and drinking enough, the body is full of spiritual energy, making Gao Xian drowsy. Gao Xianxiang gathered his energy and once again presented the wind and moon treasure. This time he was looking at the other side of the mirror. The wind and moon treasure mirror is divided into two sides, with one side reflecting his appearance and various abilities. On the other side of the mirror, there is a woman. The woman has a beautiful appearance, dressed in a large red double-breasted, chest-length skirt. The texture of the skirt is soft and somewhat transparent, and you can vaguely see the woman's Xingxue skin, with a graceful figure curve. The key is that this woman looks like his first love, and also somewhat like her colleague Lan Jie, a generous and sexy young woman. Well, these two people already look alike. Just a pure and charming temperament, very different. Also, there are differences in body shape. Young women are not fat, and their white, tender, and hydrated skin exudes the unique plump and moisturized beauty of young women. First love, with a slender figure and tight skin, has a youthful vitality unique to young girls. The woman in the mirror is both pure and elegant, possessing both strengths. However, her behavior and expression carry a hint of charm, which makes her look somewhat inappropriate. Gao Xian studied for a few days, and for convenience, he called this woman Lan Jie. He found that Lan Jie was actually alive, not a living person, but able to interact with him. It's like an advanced interactive intelligent program. Gao Xian reached out and lightly tapped Lan Jie. In the mirror, Lan Jie lifted her head and gave a charming smile to Gao Xian, while a text also appeared on the mirror surface. The affairs of the wind and moon are the best and most beautiful in the world. By embodying the graceful demeanor of wind and moon, one can attain the ultimate Tao. Humanistic Spirit Light. 335, Secret Technique. Electric Light Dragon Subduing Hand, Big Dipper Divine Technique. Electric Dragon Subduing Hand. 30 years of single training to become a unique skill. When doing some fixed simple actions, the hand speed is super fast, and the power of electric light is contained in the hand, which will give the contact a wonderful stimulating feeling when stimulated. Proficient in 188-300, the Duo Shen Fa. Heart feeling in center, spirit descending in outward. High and low are connected together, and the two chi pairs together to form a god. 30 years of delusions and obsession have condensed into a little true spirit, with endless magical effects. Expert 321 out of 400, when Gao Xian first read this passage, he was very ashamed and even a little angry. What kind of thing is this? It's too damn not serious. It goes without saying that the electric light dragon slaying hand is as straightforward as ever. The Big Dipper divine technique clearly mocks his YY beauty and treats all the teachers like wives. It's just slander. He's an honest middle-aged man who hasn't done anything bad. Damn it, just thinking about it, he's still wrong. Gao Xian can actually tolerate these, but the problem is that this traditional craftsmanship is not very useful. Humanistic spiritual light can only enhance the abilities on the opposite side of the mirror, and is completely useless for alchemy and other abilities. He has a feeling that Lan Jie should be able to play a role. Just how to use it and research it, however, why does the humanitarian light seem to have increased by a few points? Let's talk about the update of the new book, which will be updated twice a day at noon and 1 in the afternoon. The most important thing now for the new book is to follow up on the data and kindly ask everyone to take a look every day. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Humanistic Spirit Light, adding Geng to the rose sky and wild wind of the Alliance Leader. You are listening at novelful.audio. Chapter 3. Humanistic Spirit Light, adding Geng to the rose sky and wild wind of the Alliance Leader. Gao Xian remembers very clearly that the humanitarian light was originally 335 o'clock. He used 2 points of human spirit light for the experiment, leaving 333 points. How did it become 335 o'clock again? Where do these 2 additional humanitarian inspirations come from? He only saw 3 people today. Gao Xian couldn't help but think of the somewhat complicated look in his sister.in.law's eyes when she left. Is it related to his sister.in.law? Unfortunately, it cannot be verified. Adding these few points of humanitarian light is not of much use, and there is no time to delve deeper now. Gao Xian connected his fingers and filled up the electric light dragon subduing hand with 300 points, upgrading from proficiency level to expert level in one go. Electric light dragon hand. When doing fixed simple actions, the hand speed is super fast, and the power of electric light hidden in the hand can bring a strong wonderful feeling to the contact object. 1/400 expert, Gao Xian keenly noticed the changes in the annotations. The electric light dragon hand was originally a fixed and simple action, but it was upgraded to an expert and the word certain was removed. That is to say, as long as it is a fixed simple action, his hand speed can be super fast. By the way, when he added points just now, his fingers were unusually fast, counting 113 times in just 2 or 3 seconds. Also, what is the strong and wonderful feeling? The woman in the mirror, who resembled Lan Jie, also moved. She reached out her delicate hand and made simple movements such as bending her fingers, clenching her fists, and swinging. The woman's movements became faster and faster, but her beautiful face became more charming. Her eyes flowed with a hint of shyness and joy, making Gao Xian's heart shake. She wished she could jump in and be with the little sister. In a daze, Gao Xian's hands felt numb and tingling like electricity, while also swelling and heating up. He looked at his hands, electric light flickering under his skin, and the muscles and bones inside his palms seemed to be constantly adjusting and changing. Gao Xian suddenly had a realization that the electric light dragon subduing hand would change the state of his hands, so that his hands could become faster and more stable. He also understood at once that although the movements of the electric light dragon slaying hand were simple, they covered most scenes of using hands. It's not just for doing that kind of thing. Gao Xian was suddenly uplifted, and this skill was not completely useless. If you upgrade again, you may be able to remove more restrictions, and a pair of Kuai can be applied to a wider range of environments. It's just that the humanitarian light is not enough. The Big Dipper divine technique can be upgraded, but what's the use of this thing? Gao Xian believes that we should not act recklessly, so we should first study it thoroughly. He grabbed the little black cat by the neck and brought the little thing over. The action of Gao Xian grabbing the cat is very fast, so fast that the kitten can't react in time. The little black cat felt a bit uncomfortable. It meowed twice, shook its head and tail vigorously, and its fur exploded all over, struggling to escape from Gao Xian's hand. Gao Xian used his electric dragon hand to stroke the kitten's fur. Meow. Meow. The struggling kitten immediately softened and lay obediently beside Gao Xian, unable to open its comfortable eyes. The originally sharp cries have also turned into soft and cute sounds. Gao Xian suddenly understood that the electric light dragon slaying hand was actually a divine skill for masturbating cats. After pondering for most of the day, Gao Xian roughly understood the function of the electric light dragon subduing hand. Even if you masturbate a cat, you can masturbate a person. Use this skill to open a large health massage shop, ensuring a thriving business and increasing profits every day. Gao Xian thought of the small budget movie he had watched, his beautiful body covered in essential oil. TSK, this job is also quite good, suitable for him. It just can't solve the current problem. Gao Xian suppressed his restless emotions and took out the wind and moon mirror, his gaze fixed on the great puppet divine technique. The Big Dipper divine technique is already at the expert level, only 80 points away from the next level. Anyway, it's useless to keep the humanitarian light, why not give it a try? Gao Xian was ruthless and added 80 points of humanistic spirit light to the great puppet divine technique. The Duotian Fa. Heart feeling in center, spirit descending in outward. High and low are connected together, and the two chi pairs together to form a god. Endless use. January 5000 Master. Seeing the data on the mirror, Gao Xian was a bit confused about how to upgrade to the master level. The required points for upgrading increased tenfold. What is special about this master level puppet divine technique? Gao Xian couldn't help but look at Lan Jie in the Fengyue Baojian. Lan Jie seemed to sense his gaze, feeling a bit shy and lowered her head, turning around and swaying towards the depths of the mirror. A little red candlelight appeared deep in the mirror, illuminating the Yingluo bead curtain. Behind the pearl curtain is a brocade bed, adorned with yellow mandarin ducks embroidered with brocade, and a blue jade pillow slanted horizontally. Lan Jie parted the pearl curtain, took off her embroidered shoes, and lazily lay on the brocade bed with her back to Gao Xian. Lan Jie, lying horizontally, has undulating curves in her neck, shoulders, waist, hips, and legs, showcasing the beauty of a woman's gentle and enchanting figure. Her skirt was scattered, revealing half of her slender calves and snow-white jade feet. The swaying pearl curtain reflected 1,000 streams of light, and behind the stream of light, Lan Jie was a bit more dreamy and charming. Looking at Lan Jie's enchanting and beautiful figure, Gao Xian's mouth was dry and his tongue was dry, which was much more touching than the Japanese teachers. Gao Xian suddenly realized that at some point he was already standing in front of the pearl curtain. Lan Jie behind the pearl curtain is simply within reach. It's not good. Gao Xian was deeply conflicted in his heart, and he really wanted to go over and celebrate the occasion. But he was well aware that Lan Jie was not a real person, but a puppet god he had imagined, a phantom that existed in the wind and moon treasure mirror. It's really a bit shameful to do this during the battle between Gao Xian and Tianran. Lan Jie on the brocade couch slowly turned to him and smiled lightly, her eyes full of charm and tenderness. Seeing that Gao Xian remained motionless, Lan Jie became somewhat frivolous and hooked her finger at him. A gentle hook stirred up turbulent waves and overturned all of Gao Xian's rationality. After finishing work, Gao Xian sat on the bed, with a somewhat satisfied and comfortable expression on his face, as well as an indescribable complexity. Just now, he seemed to delve into the treasure trove of love and romance, tossing and turning with Lan Jie in the exquisite and gorgeous boudoir. Everything was just his imagination, just a way of divine friendship. It seems like a fantasy, I can't explain it clearly. The only thing that can be confirmed is that this kind of divine intercourse method is really enjoyable, the combination of two chi forms, the interplay of spirit and vitality, as if entering the supreme realm. However, the essence and energy in the body flow into the spirit, and then return from the spirit to the energy, so the cycle is endless. Gao Xian is certain that this kind of thing is not only harmless to the body, but can also purify essence and enhance the soul. Through this experience, Gao Xian has gained a deeper understanding of the Great Dipper divine technique. This secret technique may seem unremarkable, but in reality, it is exquisite and unparalleled. There is a fundamental difference between being chaotic and YY. Through this way of communication, the spirit, chi, and essence will become stronger, and even the goddess Lan will become stronger. Master-level Lan Jie can even enter his eyebrows and help him condense spells. The first key for practitioners to practice and cast spells is to observe their thoughts in the spiritual world. Only formed laws can gather and operate the vitality of heaven and earth. Gao Xian inherited part of the original owner's memory and knew that the Dharma was the key to cultivating and casting spells. With the help of Sister Lan to condense the magic, it saved him a lot of time and energy for visualization. It's so useful. However, these secret methods always carry that kind of meaning. There is a slight conflict with the moral education received by Gao Xian. So, he feels a bit embarrassed. But Lan Jie smiled at him and even hooked her fingers at him. Who could resist this? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Lan Jie, as the leader of the alliance, adding more to the rivers and mountains outside the mist. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Lan Jie, as the leader of the alliance, adding more to the rivers and mountains outside the mist, taking advantage of his state, Gao Xian began to meditate and practice the 5 elements. The 5 elements exercise utilizes the power of the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, corresponding to the 5 organs of the lungs, liver, kidneys, heart, and spleen. At the same time, one should observe the corresponding 5 elements dharma in their mind. Each type of spiritual energy corresponding to gold, wood, water, fire, and earth needs to be operated once to achieve a complete cycle around the sky, which takes about 3 minutes. A single cultivation requires at least 30.6 cycles to make progress. It is actually very difficult to guide spiritual energy to move along a fixed path within the body with divine consciousness, while visualizing the corresponding dharma. Fortunately, the original master has been practicing since childhood and has a good foundation. Gao Xian has inherited this part of his memory and has been practicing smoothly in the past few days. This time, Gao Xian's mind moved and Lan Jie appeared deep in his eyebrows. Through the great puppet god technique, he and Lan Jie have an invisible but exceptionally close connection. Whatever he thinks, Lan Jie can naturally do it according to his ideas. Gao Xian asked Lan Jie to help him visualize the Dharma, and he operated the 5 elements technique for 36 weeks. Without accurate timing tools, according to Gao Xian's own calculation, this cultivation only takes about 30 minutes. More than 4 times more efficient than his own cultivation. Moreover, Lan Jie's cultivation effect is also better. At the end of the day, Gao Xian practiced 3 times and practiced the 5 elements for 108 weeks. Looking at the front of the Fengyue Baojian again, you can see that the 5 elements technique has solidly improved your cultivation. Gao Xian was greatly surprised by this result. Over the past few days, he has not fallen behind in his cultivation. After all, cultivation is the foundation, and he is also interested in extraordinary power. I practiced for a few days, but my cultivation did not increase at all. No wonder the main focus was on drug upgrades, but the qualifications were indeed not good. Moreover, with the help of Sister Lan, the speed of casting spells has greatly increased. A flame flickered on Gao Xian's fingertips, like a constantly on and off lighter hidden in his hand. On the other hand, there was a faint mist that seemed to disappear as it was born, and this was the technique of controlling water. At this point, non-mainstream spells such as fire control and water control, Gao Xian doesn't even need to chant or hold a seal anymore, and can be used instantly. From the memories left by the original owner, it can be seen that although these 2 spells are low level, they are the foundation of many spells. For example, the cleansing technique is a higher order variation of the water repellent technique. Gao Xian repeatedly used all the spells he knew, enjoying the wonderful pleasure of mastering extraordinary powers. After more than a day of turmoil, Gao Xian gradually calmed down from his high excitement. No matter how good Lan is, she cannot help him refine pills. At present, we still need to find a way to refine pills. It is said that the landlady has 9 levels of qi cultivation and is only 1 step away from building the foundation. In this little Pegasus collection, he is famous for his ability to fight. Fire and water control spells are all low level spells, and instant casting is useless. I'm afraid the boss will stand there and let him fight, he won't even hurt a single hair. Besides, Zhu, the shopkeeper, is a disciple of Lianyan sect, and his master is a guest of Lianyan sect. The social relationship between the 2 sides is very close, and it cannot be solved by using force. On the other hand, Mr. and Mrs. Zhu wouldn't do anything to him either. At most, hand him over to his master for handling. Thinking of his unseen master, Gao Xian couldn't help but feel a chill all over. According to the memory left by the original owner, if he were sent back by manager Zhu, the master would definitely be able to break his legs. Leaving Pegasus secretly. Faima Market is a newly opened market by Lianyungang sect, located deep in Tingsha Mountain, about 2,000 to 3,000 miles away from Lianyungang sect. Within Tingsha Mountain, there are monsters everywhere, as well as exceptionally terrifying evil spirits. From the original owner's memory, it seems that he is not capable of running out of Tingsha Mountain on his own with this skill. There are still 8 days left, so we should try our best to try various methods. Gao Xian picked up Alchemy Essentials and flipped through it again. These past few days, he had received some memories from the original owner, and even after reading Alchemy Essentials, he could barely understand it. After patiently reading for a while, Gao Xian couldn't help but throw the book out. Even if the theory can be barely understood, it is still far from practical operation. This won't work, we need to think of a different path. Gao Xian picked up the book and thought for a moment before going to the nearby cabinet to take out all the books and items inside. 13 inferior spirit stones, a pine-patterned fine steel long sword, several sets of clothing, several books, a box of 10 containing white dew pills, and several low-level talismans. This is all the property left to him by the original owner. He actually flipped through these things several times, and then took them out mainly to organize his thoughts. Gao Xian's mind is particularly clear now. He has a wonderful intuition that these items contain what he needs. Lingshur is a natural crystallization of spiritual energy, a universal currency in the world of cultivators, comparable to gold in the mortal world. 13 lower-grade spirit stones with limited purchasing power. Can't solve his problem. The long sword is useless, the white dew pill, clothing, and talismans are all useless. So, these are just a few books. The treatise on the birth and control of the 5 elements, the mysterious formula of the cave, and the 36 methods of alchemy. Gao Xian suddenly felt a stir in his heart and picked up Dong Xian Zhenfang. He had flipped through this book and found that it contained prescriptions for the double cultivation method, not any serious things. When he saw the content, he threw it away. If it's not serious, then it's right. If it's not serious, then it's a perfect match. In fact, Dong Xian Zhenfang is very simple, recording 9 types of medicinal formulas, including details on how to refine them. After reading the first prescription of deer antlers powder, Gao Xian suddenly had a realization in his heart. He took out the wind and moon treasure mirror and saw an additional elixir on the back. Deer antler powder. A medicine for strengthening yang and kidney. Beginners 1/10. Gao Xian is overjoyed. Learning a pill is not a big deal, the key is that this pill can add points. Consuming 10 points of humane spirit light, deer antler powder quickly upgraded to proficiency level. Lan Jie in the Fengyue Baojian begins to demonstrate how to screen medicinal herbs, wash, soak, cook, and sun-dry them, how to crush medicinal herbs and mix them into powder, how to bake and refine them over fire in a short period of time. Gao Xian learned to refine deer antler powder and mastered all the details of the refining process. Sure enough, Gao Xian became even more excited. Deer horn powder was useless, the key was the technique of refining it, which was what he wanted. Deer antler powder. A medicine for strengthening yang and kidney. Proficient in 1/10. When he was promoted to a second level, he used 10 points. Gao Xian looked at the remaining over 100 points of humanitarian light and without hesitation, he continued to dot the deer antlers. Deer horn powder has been upgraded to master level with only 50 points of humane spirit light. From master to master, it takes 50 o'clock to complete. Gao Xian looked at the great puppet divine technique and found that it requires 5,000 points of humanitarian spiritual light to level up. By comparison, this one is too cheap. For the sake of his own life, Gao Xian ruthlessly raised the deer antler powder to the level of a master. It is obvious that there has been a qualitative change from a master to a master, which requires more humanistic spiritual light. He finally found a way, and of course, he will give it his all. Anyway, the remaining dozens of humanitarian inspirations can't do anything. Lan Jie, from the Fengyue Baojian, began to refine deer antler powder again. It was the same process as before, but Sister Kellen's every move was exceptionally elegant, with a subtle and indescribable aura. Gao Xian's spirit was shaken, and his mind was filled with countless experiences of refining deer antler powder. At the same time, the original owner's more than 10 years of alchemy memories were also stimulated. Screening medicinal herbs, refining alchemy, controlling the heat, each scene incorporates the memories of Gao Xian. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Deer Antlers Powder. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Deer Antlers Powder, Deer Blood, Deer Antlers, Deer Whips, Mica, Red Stone. Gao Xian put various processed medicinal herbs one by one into the Dan stove, lit the fire, and baked them. The spoutless kettle-shaped three-legged alchemy stove can be divided into 8 different areas through internal wheels and manual partitions. Some are used for baking, some are used for steaming, and some are used to extract and refine medicinal properties. Below the Dan stove is a brick pedestal, with a flue connected to the outside and a chimney. Alchemy requires the use of a large amount of charcoal, and through this simple pedestal combined with a rotating alchemy furnace, the temperature can be controlled. The yin-yang water fire formation is engraved on the Dan furnace, and can also be activated with spirit stones if needed. The cost of using arrays is too high, and there is also a high demand for alchemists. The original owner used to cultivate one layer of qi, and it was very difficult to control the Dan furnace formation, almost all of which used charcoal to refine pills. Anyway, the refining is all low-level pills, and charcoal fire is sufficient. Gao Xian elevated the deer antler powder to the level of a master and fully mastered various basic alchemy techniques. Obtaining all the alchemy memories of our master, both confirmed that Gao Xian had transformed from a vegetable chicken to a master of alchemy. Take out the wind and moon treasure mirror, and indeed, the gray alchemy has returned to normal. Moreover, the proficiency of alchemy has greatly improved, and it seems that it is about to reach the proficiency level. In order to verify what he had learned, Gao Xian decided to test his hand with deer antler powder. This type of pill is very simple and uses commonly used medicinal materials, which he can find in his own medicinal material library. Choose the right medicinal herbs and start the fire. At this stage, Gao Xian finally understood what gentle fire and martial fire were, how to control the fire, how to extract medicinal properties, and so on. These details and tricks can never be learned while reading. Only by mastering and refining can one grasp the appropriate timing. Alchemy is a technical activity with thousands of steps, and any wrong step can greatly reduce the efficacy of the medicine and even lead to the failure of alchemy. Gao Xian is a master in the realm of deer antler scattering. Although the world is vast, few people are better than him in terms of deer antler scattering. After half a day of hard work, deer antlers scattered out of the furnace, filling the room with the fragrance of medicine. From the name of the deer antler powder, you can tell that it is a pile of medicinal powder, weighing over 2 pounds. Looking at this pile of toner-like things, Gao Xian was greatly inspired and his heart was filled with a sense of achievement. It's like the chef completing a specialty dish. In fact, alchemy is really similar to cooking, with various ingredients and steaming, boiling, and grilling in a pot. It's just that alchemy is more refined and complex. A more high-end expression is to rearrange and combine materials to make energy more orderly, which is a process of entropy reduction. This successful alchemy greatly boosted Gao Xian's confidence. Also solved the biggest problem at present. Excited for a while, Gao Xian finally remembered that things were not over yet. He took jade honey mixed with pine wax to make a pill, and rubbed the powder into peanut-sized pills by hand. The outer layer of the pill can seal the medicinal fragrance, which is more conducive to preservation. The taste is also better when eating. Rubbing pills is a very simple action, and the super quick speed of the lightning volant hand can fully play out. After a while, Gao Xian needed over 200 pills. The deer antler powder refined by the master's realm must have extraordinary effects. Gao Xian did not have an accurate estimate of this. He had never refined deer antler powder before, let alone eaten it, and was unsure how good the deer antler powder he had refined was. In order to test the efficacy, Gao Xian took one himself. A wave of hot air rose from the dantian and quickly melted into all 4 limbs, finally rushing straight to the heavenly spirit cap. This hot air is strong but not fierce, young but not dry. It makes people feel so energetic that they are about to overflow, but their minds are clear and do not become manic due to the strong medicinal properties. The pill at the level of a master is indeed powerful. Gao Xian was quite satisfied with this. Magic tools, talismans, and spells are generally divided into 9 levels and 30.6 levels, and elixirs are also divided into 9 levels, but not into levels. Instead, they are divided from 1 to 9 levels. The same type of pill can only exert its efficacy with just 1 turn, while Zhouzhuan Huandan can maximize its efficacy. Deer antler powder is an advanced aphrodisiac, and it is impossible to refine the pill again. However, the level of a master's deer antler powder is sufficient to maximize its efficacy and eliminate all the red toxins in the medicine. In order to test the efficacy, Gao Xian reluctantly went to find Lan Jie. Consciousness withdrew from the wind and moon treasure mirror, and when Gao Xian looked at the Great Dipper divine technique again, he indeed increased his cultivation by 3 points. With this divine medicine, crush the blue small pill casually. If you can cross back, you can immediately become the savior of middle-aged and elderly men. Gao Xian sighed, learning the dragon-slaying technique but not having a dragon is somewhat regrettable. Fortunately, the antler powder is awesome, and he eats it well himself, which can speed up the cultivation of the big puppet magic method. No, there are equally many middle-aged and elderly people in this world. Even their cultivators have their physical abilities limited by natural laws. Just like the neighboring old king, who is withered and lacks kidney water. This is the best user. The matter of making money is not urgent, the top priority is to refine a batch of pills. Gao Xian took out the wind and moon treasure mirror, and sure enough, his alchemy skills advanced, surprisingly reaching the proficiency level in one fell swoop. Alchemy is the most difficult skill for him to upgrade among all his skills, and upgrading so many at once surprised him greatly. Including the 3 types of pills that the original master would refine, they have also been elevated to proficiency level. The Grandmaster level realm is only aimed at the medicine of deer antler powder. However, many techniques for refining pills are common. After this practical operation, the original alchemy techniques have been integrated, and alchemy has been greatly improved. The advanced alchemy is not far from the expert level. First level mastery of alchemy, 27/4000, proficiency in revitalizing Qi pill, 155/200, proficient in Gu Yuan Dan, 161/200, proficiency in White Dew pill, 177/200. Looking at the data in the Fengyue Baojian, Gao Xian was quite satisfied. In just a few days, there has been tremendous progress. Based on this growth rate, Gao Xian made a simple calculation: it's too exaggerated. It's better not to take it seriously. Taking advantage of his good condition, Gao Xian cooked meat and had a full meal. The little black cat, smelling the fragrance, ran out of nowhere and followed suit to eat a round belly. The little black cat was clearly tired after eating, lying there dozing off with its eyes closed. Gao Xian masturbated twice, and the little black cat wagged its tail before showing no response. This made Gao Xian a little envious. He ate, slept, played, and ate. The little kitten has been living a very comfortable life. Perhaps it should be fed 2 less meals to let it know the hardships of life and the twists and turns of fate. Taking advantage of the abundant spiritual energy in his body, Gao Xian operated the 5 elements technique for 36 weeks, taking half an hour. Without accurate timing tools, Gao Xian feels that he is now operating the 5 elements technique more smoothly. Mainly thanks to Lan's assistance. Take out the Fengyue Baojian and see that the 5 elements technique has steadily increased a bit, which is very pleasing. After adjusting his state, Gao Xian went to the neighboring pharmacy. The small courtyard he lives in has 3 main rooms, one is a bedroom, half a living room, and half a kitchen. The remaining room is a warehouse for storing medicinal herbs. The alchemy room is a small ear room next to the main room, where an alchemy furnace is placed. Danlu is considered a first-order magical tool, but it is actually quite valuable. This thing is very heavy and fixed on a brick platform, so it's not that easy to move. In addition, there are not many alchemists at Pegasus who can use alchemy furnaces. Even if someone steals the elixir, it is difficult to deal with. On the contrary, the medicinal herbs are light and easy to handle, so Gao Xian can only keep them in the main room. After checking the medicinal herbs, Gao Xian wanted to sigh. The original owner was really capable of killing himself by using up all the Bai Lu Dan medicinal herbs. He has made great progress in alchemy, but he cannot fill such a big gap. We can only refine a batch of pills first and send them over, delaying for a while. Find a way to replenish the consumed medicinal herbs, screening medicinal herbs, steaming and drying, crushing the ratio, and re-refining them in the furnace. A furnace of Qi returning pills took Gao Xian 3 days to complete. Manually kneading pills yields over 200 pills of medicine. After being busy for 3 days, Gao Xian decided to go out and adjust his state. He put on 2 deer antlers and scattered to visit old Wang next door. Lao Wang's house is even more shabby, with only 2 main rooms in the small courtyard and cracked walls and tiles. If it rains heavily, it will definitely leak. A few bluestone slabs were used to pave a way in and out of the yard. There is an unopened toilet in one corner, which looks very transparent. Although Gao Xian is not obsessed with cleanliness, he doesn't dare to look too much. Old Wang was dozing off in bed when he yawned and said angrily, "What are you doing here, kid?" Gao Xian encouraged himself in his heart, "It's just a good meal, it's not embarrassing. It's not selling fake medicine." Having made psychological adjustments, Gao Xian smiled with a reserved smile at old Wang and said, "Friend Dao, have you ever heard of deer antler powder?" Thank you brothers and sisters for your reward Bao. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Sales Promotion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Sales Promotion. What did I think, sneaky? Old Wang pouted and said that deer antler powder is a common aphrodisiac. When he is feeling unwell, he always takes a little to boost his mood. Old Wang is getting old, but his mind is spinning quickly. He immediately reacted and said, "Why, do you have deer antler powder?" The old man sat up from the bed with a twitch of his eyes. He chuckled and extended his dry palm, "Come on, let me help you try the medicine. I'm not bragging, I'm the most familiar with the properties of deer antler powder and have extensive experience." The old man likes to take advantage so much, which Gao Xian despises in his heart. However, this old man is the most suitable candidate and there is no choice. Take these 2 deer antlers and give them a try, Taoist friend. Gao Xian put the pill in the old man's hand and said, "If you think it works well, come to me." Gao Xian had little interest in the despicable old man, so he hurriedly left after finishing the matter. The aura of selling aphrodisiacs is bullshit. When Gao Xian left the room, old Wang spat out a mouthful of foam. This young man, relying on his alchemy skills, always looked arrogant and displeased. Are you still trying to sell aphrodisiacs? They're all just the same scumbag. What kind of outfit are they? Old Wang opened his mouth and swallowed 2 deer antlers. He chuckled and muttered to himself, "I'll take advantage of you for nothing. I want to wait for me to buy your medicine, dream." Lu Jiao San, a low-grade medicine, was taken too much by Lao Wang, and he didn't mind even taking 2 in one gulp. Gao Xian's deer antler powder looks better, but when it comes to flowers, it's not like deer antler powder. Who would spend more money just because they look good? Old Wang quickly felt warm all over, with indescribable energy and even his mind clear. He's such an old man, as soon as he has energy, he can't help but think of women. It wasn't much at first, but with such a thought, he couldn't bear it anymore. In the past 20 years, Lao Wang's cultivation has declined and his spirit has gradually declined. He has never been so tough. Old Wang is not pleased but surprised. What kind of tiger and wolf medicine is this? It's so domineering. He ran to the kitchen and washed his face with cold water, and the rising fire quickly extinguished. The warm feeling of his body made him feel like he was soaking in a hot spring, and his whole body was very comfortable. Although Lao Wang is only a 5th-level practitioner of Qi, he still has some knowledge after living for over 50 years. The medicine penetrates through the kidneys and then spreads throughout the body. The most important thing is that this medicine is yang without dryness, strong in spirit and kidney, and can nourish the root. He immediately realized the uniqueness of these 2 pills. Old Wang is a bit skeptical. How could a small cultivator in the early stages of Qi cultivation produce such a good pill? He decided to try the medicine. Gao Xian didn't know that old Wang next door was interested, so he went home and rested for half a day before starting the alchemy again. With the experience of refining the Qi returning pill, refining the Gu Yuan pill becomes more convenient. In 2 days, the pill will be ready. Still the same, he rubbed his hands into pills and obtained over 200 pills. Danyao definitely has specifications, and it usually needs to be weighed, 100 pills per kilogram. Gao Xian can accurately control the amount of each pill to 1/10 of a tael, which is 1 coin. According to his own feeling, the error between the top and bottom will never exceed 0.01 grams. This is also due to the wonderful ability of the electric dragon slayer. Gao Xian calculated that his alchemy has made great progress, allowing him to use medicinal materials more efficiently and refine more pills. 1/3 of the medicinal herbs consumed by the original owner were used to refine 500 white dew pills, all of which were exchanged for red blood pills. Such a huge gap cannot be filled with his skills, so he can only purchase new medicinal materials. Gao Xian neatly arranged the needed pills into a wooden box, thinking of sending the finished medicine over today. These pills add up to a lot of value, don't attract any thieves or robbers, it's troublesome. Just as Gao Xian thought of it, he heard the courtyard door ring, and people outside knocked on it urgently, appearing a bit rude. Gao Xian touched the pine-patterned steel sword beside him. Can he really defend himself with this thing? He is afraid that there will be no self-defense effect and instead stimulate the opponent's killing intent, which is unlucky. Still reliable usage symbols. Gao Xian tightly grasped an ice arrow talisman, which was also one of the only 3 attack talismans. With the assistance of Sister Lan, he can almost instantly cast the ice arrow talisman. The only problem is that he is not sure how powerful this talisman is. Before Gao Xian could figure it out, he saw a sneaky old man climbing over the wall. The opponent's movements are light and agile, somewhat like a big black mouse. Gao Xian didn't see the other person's face clearly, but as soon as he saw their greasy and black Taoist robe, he knew that the person coming was the neighboring old Wang. "Lao Wang, what are you doing?" Gao Xian shouted through the window. He was a bit afraid of the unfamiliar cultivator, but had no respect for the neighboring old king. A lecherous and lewd old man, he was a bit disgusted, but not too afraid. Lao Wang leaned over with a smile and said, "Xiao Gao, do you still have deer antler powder?" After eating 2 deer antler powder, Lao Wang regained his strength and fought fiercely in the wind and moon field, enjoying himself for 2 full days. When the medicine strength passed, old Wang turned into a worm again. 2 days of first-hand experience made old Wang realize that Gao Xian's deer antlers powder is different and has a very strong therapeutic effect. Old Wang, who has returned to his senses, quickly come to find Gao Xian to get the medicine. However, no matter how good the pill is, old Wang doesn't want to give any money. He said with a dry smile, "Xiao Gao, I've been praising your medicine everywhere. A few of my friends want to try it. If the effect is good, they will definitely pay for it." Gao Xian came out of the room, and upon hearing it, he knew that old Wang was talking nonsense and trying to take advantage of him for nothing. Grandmaster level deer antler powder, which can be refined by a few people all over the world. Giving Lao Wang 2 to taste is also to open up sales channels. Next, there won't be such a good thing. Gao Xian said to old Wang, 1 inferior spirit stone, 10 deer antler powder. Seeing Lao Wang about to open his mouth, Gao Xian shook his finger and said, "No bargaining. Old Wang is in a difficult situation. You should know that he sacrificed his life to hunt and kill monsters in the mountain, earning only 3 to 5 inferior spirit stones at once. He finds it difficult to accept this price." Old Wang muttered, "Only 1 spirit stone is sold for 10 chi returning pills. Xiao Gao, you're selling them too expensive. Love to buy, don't buy." Gao Xian saw through this old slut, and as he grew older, he pointed to this enjoyment. "I can't resist this temptation." After hesitating for a while, old Wang cruelly took out an inferior spirit stone from his pocket and threw it to Gao Xian. "Here are 10. Gao Xian took the lower-grade spirit stone, which was a standard cube with a green and jade-like body, the size of an ordinary dice. Once the lower-grade spirit stone is used and consumed, the clear spiritual light inside will dissipate. This thing cannot be fake. Gao Xian could confirm with a glance that there was no problem with the spirit stone, and he happily discharged 10 deer antler powder for old Wang. Old Wang looked at the pill in his hand, his face tingling with pain. This thing is really cool, but it's also so expensive. Gao Xian was a bit disdainful of old Wang's stingy search. He reminded old Wang, you can also sell it. With your skills, you can't even double the profit with just one change of hands. Old Wang was surprised and turned to great joy. Yes, Gao Xian's deer antler powder is very useful. If you sell it to people in the same path, it will definitely be very popular. Double earning is not impossible. Old Wang found this avenue of wealth and hurriedly left. Gao Xian personally escorted Old Wang out, and he was still looking forward to him. Deer antler powder is so useful that it definitely sells well. Just because the Pegasus collection is so large, it is destined that the market size is very small. Selling medicine in that place can lead to conflicts or make others jealous. It is Lao Wang's ability to sell more medicine. He can earn this money safely and it's enough. 200 deer antlers can sell 20 inferior spirit stones, which can be used to buy medicinal herbs to make up for the shortfall. Gao Xian was about to close the door and return to his room when he heard someone shouting in the distance, "Wait a moment." Following a low and hoarse voice, I saw a tall and muscular figure approaching rapidly. Gao Xian's heart trembled, and it was Zhu Qinyang, the owner of the Oriental version of the Magical Woman Pharmacy, who came. Zhu Qinyang walked a few big steps to Gao Xian and snorted at him, "How many pills have you refined?" 200 pieces each of the Revitalizing Qi pill and Strengthening Yuan pill. I was just about to deliver them today. Gao Xian respectfully replied, "I didn't expect the landlady to come over in person." Zhu Qinyang walked into the main room with her hands behind her back, and Gao Xian hurriedly went to the pharmacy to bring the refined pill. A red wooden box specifically designed for storing pills, which not only protects the pills but also seals their properties. Gao Xian opened the wooden box and was about to introduce the situation of the pill when Zhu Qinyang suddenly grabbed his hand. Gao Xian is only half a head shorter than Zhu Qinyang, but when Zhu Qinyang grips his palm, it feels like a big man grabbing a little girl, and he has no resistance. Gao Xian is a bit panicked. What is this female hero doing? Boss's wife, Zhu Qinyang raised her eyebrows and said with a hint of displeasure, "You still call me the landlady." Although Gao Xian had some social experience, he couldn't understand Zhu Qinyang's meaning and became even more anxious. Zhu Qinyang said calmly, "Don't be afraid. Old Zhu has something to do and has gone out. I have time to accompany you today." End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Sister.in.law. You are listening at novelful.audio. Chapter 7. Sister.in.law. Although it was a very intimate love story, Zhu Qinyang spoke it with a cold and hard tone, and Gao Xian's whole body was covered in sweat and hair. He doesn't know if he's excited or scared. Zhu Qinyang is the owner of a pharmacy. If the pharmacy owner finds out, his life will really be in danger. Although he had been with Zhu Qinyang before, he mainly retaliated against the Zhu shopkeeper in his heart. He never thought about doing anything. However, Zhu Qinyang, who is tall and muscular, is very similar to Galgado, with longer breasts and thighs, and more beautiful facial features, which is very in line with Gao Xian's aesthetics. At the same time, Gao Xian also had more images of intimate relationships between men and women in his mind. Gao Xian was shocked. The original owner knew about the kindness of the wealthy woman at a young age. He dared to take action against Zhu Qinyang. This guy is really brave. He's really so big. Fortunately, the original owner and Zhu Qinyang were just talking about trivial matters and had no substantive connection. According to the original owner's memory, Zhu Qinyang practiced the Hunyuan golden body technique, with her body alienated like metal, losing most of her normal functions and unable to interact with others. Zhu, the shopkeeper, took her as his wife and also admired her for her strong cultivation, toughness, and ability to fight. The two of them do not have a true marital relationship. The original owner saw Zhu Qinyang's problem and then found an opportunity to use sweet words to get along. The original owner spoke well and looked good, but surprisingly quickly hooked up with Zhu Qinyang. Now that the original owner has passed away, it's his turn to relieve the pain, big sister. Gao Xian figured out the causes and consequences, and on the contrary, he had some sympathy for Zhu Qinyang. This woman has a bad eye for men. My husband is not very good, and my lover is also a bastard. He thinks that the aesthetics here are all exquisite and delicate in the Eastern tradition, and Zhu Qinyang is too tall, which does not conform to men's aesthetics. Zhu Qinyang may not even have a friend here. She joined in with the original owner just to talk and relieve her stress. There may not be much sexual desire between men and women here. Qinyang. Gao Xian is able to appreciate the beauty of the other person, but he is not in the mood to act recklessly. He had a sudden inspiration, and he shook hands with Zhu Qinyang's hand, using the electric light to subdue the dragon. The electric light dragon slaying hand is exquisitely crafted, concealing the power of electric light, which can directly reach the nerves of the human body and bring an exceptionally comfortable feeling. Even though Zhu Qinyang's body was as hard as steel, she lost all her normal feelings. But her nerves will not really alienate into steel. For Gao Xian's gentle touch, Zhu Qinyang started to feel a bit uncomfortable, but soon she felt a tingling and soft sensation all over her body, with an indescribable sense of comfort from head to back. Gao Xian masturbated back and forth hundreds of times, making the diamond like Zhu Qinyang as soft as bone, and he fell asleep comfortably. When Zhu Qinyang fell asleep, she curled up in a ball, arms wrapped around her chest, looking a bit weak and cute. Gao Xian also breathed a sigh of relief. Good guy, masturbating the little black cat is a pastime, masturbating such a big head is really a personal effort. Fortunately, I have managed it. The electric dragon slayer not only brings happiness to oneself, but also brings happiness to others. That's great. Well, Qinyang's muscles are as hard as iron, but her skin is tight and smooth, and it feels smooth when you roll it up, which is great. At the beginning of the night, Zhu Qinyang woke up. She flipped over and sat up in a daze for a long time before fully awakening. Looking at Gao Xian again, Zhu Qinyang surprisingly showed some nervousness and shyness. Her cold and stern face surprisingly showed such subtle emotional changes, which softened her tough aura and truly gave her a hint of femininity. Zhu Qinyang really didn't know what to say. When she approached Gao Xian, she also saw him as good-looking and talkative, like an interesting toy. Today, Gao Xian made her feel an unprecedented joy. This kind of joy is not only intense stimulation, but also has a lingering charm, making her feel comfortable, and peaceful. Since practicing the Hunyuan golden body technique, she has become like a piece of metal and has lost most of her feelings. Now, she feels like she's come back to life. You're doing well. After holding back for a while, Zhu Qinyang only said 3 words. She took 2 boxes of pills and left 2 talismans for Gao Xian. A golden talisman, a Geng gold sword talisman. Gao Xian didn't want to eat soft rice and refused very seriously, but he couldn't compare to Zhu Qinyang's brute force and could only reluctantly accept it. Through these days of turmoil and the fusion of many memories from the original owner, Gao Xian has also gained a basic understanding of spells and talismans. A golden talisman is a protective talisman that is as hard as gold and iron when used. It is a first-grade medium grade. The price is about 2 inferior spirit stones. The Geng gold sword talisman triggers an exceptionally sharp Geng gold sword light, which is a first-level lower grade. A inferior spiritual stone. Massaged once and received 3 inferior spirit stones. This fee is quite expensive when calculated. The talisman is made of monster skin, 2 inches wide and 4 inches long, with large pieces of vermilion runes painted on it, which looks very complex. This one-time talisman can be used to unleash its power by using divine sense to guide and activate the mana. It is very convenient and fast to use. The price of talismans is too high for ordinary low-level Qi cultivators to afford. Usually, it means buying a few bodyguards and keeping them for critical use. Gao Xian flipped around with the talisman for a while, but ultimately couldn't bear to test its power. Gao Xian put away 2 talismans and took out the wind and moon treasure mirror. He was pleasantly surprised to find that there were 30.2 more human spiritual lights. So, masturbating big sister has so much input. 30 once, 310 times, 3,100 times. In this way, it is not difficult to accumulate the spiritual light of humanity. Gao Xian couldn't help but smile on his face. With the divine skill of electric light dragon slaying hand, the road ahead is promising. He also suddenly realized that as long as there was a subtle affection between men and women, it could generate a spiritual light of humanity. Gao Xian suddenly thought of his own 335 points of humanitarian light, and his smile slowly disappeared from his face. After living for over 30 years, no woman has ever loved him, right? This kind of life is so dull and colorless. Gao Xian sighed for a while about the tragic life in his previous life, and he quickly regained his energy. Middle-aged social animals are so mature, occasionally nostalgic, but not immersed in narcissism and self-harm. Life may be bad, but it must continue. Sympathize and pity oneself, that's Dayu's sister's business. A man should let himself go and not live so miserably. Gao Xian took out the Fengyue Baojian and studied how to make the most effective use of the humanitarian spirit light. Upgrading the electric dragon warrior is still far from enough. However, the proficiency of the electric dragon slayer has actually increased by 7 points. This kung fu is good for masturbating oneself, masturbating cats, and masturbating others. It's just that masturbating oneself is too hurtful, it's better to masturbate others, followed by masturbating cats. So, this job still needs to be done more. Benefiting oneself and others is a win-win situation. The Great Dipper divine technique is even more powerful, and now he only has less than 70 points of humanistic spirit light in his hand, which is not enough to upgrade. By the way, he should go and do some yellow-red art now. Perhaps one can learn new things. Quickly transform the spiritual light of humanity into combat effectiveness. This world is too unsafe. Just like Qin Yang just now, the result was very good. But if he doesn't handle it well, perhaps he will be torn apart by the angry 7 women. He doesn't like fighting and is very afraid of death, detesting this completely passive situation. Gao Xian was thinking about his next plan, only to find that the humanitarian light suddenly rose a bit. During the new book period, I kindly request everyone to open it every day and take a look. It is very important to follow up on the data. Thank you all. The updates will be available at 10 o'clock a.m. and 6 o'clock p.m. respectively. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Mysterious God Powder. You are listening at novelful.audio. Chapter 8. Mysterious God Powder. Gao Xian studied for a long time, but couldn't figure out where the sudden increase in humanitarian light came from. From Zhu Qinyang. It's not impossible either. Perhaps Sister Qinyang is savoring the aftertaste. Gao Xian put away the Fengyue Baojian and picked up the book, Dongxian Zhenfang. There are 9 types of prescriptions here, and mastering one more prescription would greatly benefit his alchemy skills. There is no way to add points to alchemy, but after understanding these yellow and red arts, they can be added points. This is the fundamental difference between the two. Although the prescriptions recorded in Dongxian Zhenfang are not mainstream, they are also a type of alchemy. The methods of refining medicine are all common. Mysterious powder can make people get drunk upside down. When Gao Xian saw the confusion dispersing, his eyes suddenly lit up. This is a good thing. He is an honest person with no intention of doing anything wrong, he just thinks that this thing is very good for protecting himself. Back in the day, Lord Wei relied on 3 treasures to wander the rivers and lakes. Overpowering drugs, daggers, and inner armor. Especially with overpowering drugs, they defeated various experts in the martial arts world and captured several wives. Looking at the prescription of Mi Shen San again, Gao Xian seemed to have some enlightenment in his heart. Deer horn powder reached the level of a master, allowing him to improve his alchemy skills by leaps and bounds. Looking at the specific prescription ratio and refining method, we can already conduct a simple simulation and deduction in our minds. Gao Xian took out the Fengyue Baojian and saw that there was already an additional item on the back. Mysterious powder. With a strong aroma, it can make people fall asleep. Beginner 1/10, 50 points of human spirit light will be applied, and the mysterious god powder will be directly upgraded to the master level. Master level mysterious scatter, comments have changed. Mysterious powder. Fine as dust, with a fragrance that seems to be present but not present. The soul of the middle person is chaotic and the heart is lost, and the body is tender and tender. Master 1/50th, there are only over 20 points of humanitarian spiritual light left, which is not enough to upgrade the mysterious god powder. However, the master level mystery powder should also be very strong. The main medicine used to refine the misty god powder is Zichuoa, which is an uncommon low-level medicine. Gao Xian remembers very clearly that there were no purple tulips in his pharmacy. This type of flower has strong vitality and low requirements for growth environment. It will definitely be found in the mountains. If you go into the mountains for a stroll, you may be able to find it. Gao Xian just thought about it for a moment and immediately dispelled the idea. He felt tired of living when he suddenly entered the mountain. It's not worth risking a few purple tulips. Next door old Wang often goes hunting in the mountains, just ask him to help pick a few flowers. Thinking of old Wang next door, Gao Xian naturally thought of the bottle of deer antler powder he had sold. Grandmaster level deer antler powder is a divine pill and elixir at middle-aged and elderly men cannot resist. This old man will come back to find him in a few days. Gao Xian is certain of this. As long as you sell all the deer antler powder in your hand and use this money to purchase medicinal herbs, you can fill the gap in the white dew pill that the original owner resells. The problem is that this is the only pharmacy in Pegasus, and if he wants to buy medicinal herbs, he can only buy them from Manager Zhu. Purchasing a large amount of alchemy herbs will definitely attract the attention of Manager Zhu. Gao Xian has also realized these past few days that this matter is not so serious. Zhu, the shopkeeper, is seeking wealth. If he were killed, there would be no profit, but instead a significant loss. He will still offend his master and inevitably have to pay a large sum of spiritual stones as compensation. If it really doesn't work, just explain it to Manager Zhu. Of course, this is the final choice. With the personality of Shopkeeper Zhu, he must actively admit his mistakes, and Shopkeeper Zhu will definitely take the opportunity to blackmail and extort. Gao Xian sighed, this world is too difficult to navigate, he wants to go home. Taking out the wind and moon treasure mirror, Gao Xian's mood suddenly improved as he looked at Lan Jie, who had a charming smile and beautiful eyes. At some point, he had already entered Lan Jie's chamber and everything was so real. Although Lan Jie doesn't speak, she can sing softly and her voice is enchanting and bone-wrenching. Gao Xian held Lan Jie in his arms, and suddenly thought of a sentence that Zen brother said. This place is too high, it's so satisfying that he doesn't even feel homesick. The next day, Gao Xian was steaming medicinal herbs when the neighboring old king jumped over the wall like a thief. Gao Xian detests this kind of behavior. He refuses to leave when there is a door, insists on jumping over a wall, and sneakily looks at it, which is not a good person. Old Wang leaned against the bedroom window and listened for a moment, but didn't hear anything. His eyes flickered with ferocity, and after hesitating for a moment, he whispered, "Xiao Gao." Gao Xian could see clearly in his ear room. This old man was really ill-intentioned. He had a tough and fierce demeanor just now, but after careful consideration, he didn't dare to cause any harm. He originally didn't look up to old Wang, he was just an old pervert. But this time, my heart felt a bit chilly. Old Wang has a cultivation level of 4 or 5 layers of qi, much stronger than him. He often goes into the mountains to hunt monsters, and has rich practical combat experience, let alone being a chicken like him. The other party is true to be lascivious, but he is an old wolf. If he really wants to take action, he doesn't have much resistance. Mysterious powder cannot be practiced for a while, so one can only rely on a few talismans in their hand to defend themselves. Gao Xian clenched the golden talisman in his hand and shouted angrily, "Here it is." Old Wang quickly turned around. Despite his age, his body was not old at all. His turning movements were light and swift, with one hand gripping the hilt tightly at the same time. Gao Xian became even more cautious in his heart, but his face pretended to be relaxed. "Did you finish your medicine? You used it so quickly." Lifting the medicine, Old Wang's tense old face relaxed. He has used many aphrodisiacs, but none of them are as effective as Gao Xian's deer antler powder. Other users were also shocked by the miraculous effect of deer antler powder and were willing to buy medicine at a high price. It is obvious that Gao Xian's deer antler powder has a significant difference in quality compared to other deer antler powders, and may not even be the same medicine. At present, we cannot offend Gao Xian. Old Wang chuckled and said, "Xiao Gao, do you still have that medicine? Take 20 pills. Do you have money?" Without waiting for Old Wang to speak, Gao Xian said, "No bargaining." Old Wang originally intended to negotiate, but seeing Gao Xian's resolute demeanor, he could only furrow his brows and say, "Your young man is young, so it's not good to accept money. People still need to talk about love and righteousness." He. Gao Xian smiled. After all, the other party is a customer and still needs to maintain basic relationships. 20 deer antler powder, exchange for 2 inferior spirit stones. Pay with one hand and deliver with the other. Old Wang weighed the medicine bottle in his hand and thought for a moment before saying, "Xiao Gao, how much medicine do you have left?" "You have as many spiritual stones as you have medicine. To be honest, your medicine is indeed very effective. How about this? I'll help you sell deer antler powder. The selling price is 30.7 cents. Lao Wang bewitched and said, "This way, you can sell more money without taking any risks." "I'm sorry to bother you," Gao Xian declined. "The old man is unreliable and working with him is asking for trouble." Old Wang saw Gao Xian's resolute attitude and knew he couldn't persuade the other party. He turned and said, "Why don't you just sell me your deer antler powder, okay? Want exclusive agency?" Gao Xian smiled again and said, "Okay, 1 spirit stone and 8 deer antlers scattered. I helped you sell medicine, but you increased the price. You're not a good person." The old man is a bit angry. What's wrong with this kid? If you want to monopolize and make money, you need to have that capital. If you don't want to, it's okay. Gao Xian doesn't want to deal with this old guy anymore, he just wants to take advantage of it, without any commercial vision, let alone any layout. "You're such a naive little brat." Old Wang originally intended to exclusively sell deer antler powder and make a profit. He had a good plan, but Gao Xian didn't listen to him, so he angrily started cursing. Old Wang walked out in a fit of anger, and Gao Xian suddenly called out to him, "Old Wang, don't be angry. If business doesn't succeed, benevolence and righteousness will prevail. Your cursing will be meaningless." He said again, "It's not impossible to only sell deer antler powder to you. So, you can first show your sincerity with a few purple tulips." Purple tula flower. Old Wang hunts in the mountains all year round and also collects herbs. He knows most of the common herbs and has actually seen the purple flower. This thing is not too rare, and picking it is not troublesome. He turned around and asked Gao Xian, "Do you keep your word?" "Of course." Gao Xian waved his hand to Lao Wang and said, "We'll talk about it when you bring the purple tula flower." Sending Old Wang away, Gao Xian took out the Fengyue Baojian and glanced at it. Unexpectedly, he found that the humanitarian spirit light had increased by 9 points. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Women in Black. You are listening at novelful.audio. Chapter 9 Women in Black. The humanitarian light of these 10 points is actually brought by deer antler powder. Gao Xian has many speculations about the newly added humanitarian light. The human spirit light at exactly 10 o'clock can only correspond to the 10 deer antlers sold. So, as long as you eat deer antler powder to be happy, it will also give birth to humanistic spirit light. Gao Xian is not certain about this, but it is not difficult to verify. This time, Lao Wang was given 20 deer antler powder again. If it is indeed deer antler powder that can give back the spiritual light of humanity, the results will be seen soon. Open the alchemy furnace and continue to dry. White dew pill cannot be refined, but there is no problem with revitalizing qi pill and strengthening yuan pill. Refining pills, practicing, masturbating cats, eating, practicing with Lan Jie, sleeping. After 3 days, Gao Xian refined another furnace of qi returning pills and obtained over 340 pills. Alchemy is a very patient job, and one cannot leave halfway. They must guard the alchemy furnace. Although it doesn't affect eating, practicing, masturbating cats, and even taking a nap, it is ultimately a very boring job. After a few days, Gao Xian's skin, which had been roasted by charcoal fire, turned yellow and dry, and his whole body was covered in a strong medicinal smell. In the first few alchemy sessions, Gao Xian still found it very fresh and full of enthusiasm. As soon as the freshness passes, the intense alchemy work becomes a bit difficult to endure. Fortunately, refining more than 40 pills is equivalent to earning 4 lower-grade spirit stones. The qi returning pill is used to quickly restore spiritual energy and mana, and is also suitable for assisting cultivation. It is a necessary pill for practitioners. It's just that the pills are expensive, and using the qi returning pill to assist in cultivation is very luxurious. At least 3 lower grade spirit stones are needed per month. Although Gao Xian can refine pills, he cannot afford to consume them. In the past, there was a poem that said, "I hate every year for pressing the golden thread, making wedding clothes for others." However, Gao Xian is not discouraged. To put it bluntly, he is a part of the alchemy production line, and the production materials such as medicinal herbs and alchemy furnaces are not his. He also needs to distribute 70.8% of his alchemy income to his master. This is the operating rule of this society. If there were no such benefits, why would his master accept apprentices? Complaining about these is meaningless. If you can't change it, join in. When he becomes more powerful, he will naturally gain more. During the process of alchemy, there will inevitably be a lot of consumption, and the medicinal herbs given to him by shopkeeper Zhu are 20% more consumed. Fortunately, his alchemy techniques have made great progress, and originally 20% of the consumption of medicinal materials could be converted into pills. The more than 40 revitalization pills he practiced this time are his exclusive benefits. You can eat it yourself or take it out to sell. Gao Xian gently brushed the imprint on the Taoist robe with his left hand, and Lan Jie, deep in his eyebrows, also helped him condense the magic and activate the cleansing technique. A faint water light flashed from head to toe, sweeping away the charcoal and dust from Gao Xian's body, and the green Taoist robe became as clean as new. Even the long hair tied up in a bun becomes black, shiny, and moist. Traveling through this world makes life very inconvenient. The simplest thing is personal hygiene. Washing your face without hot water is a troublesome matter. Without modern shampoo, it is even more troublesome to tidy up long hair tied up in a bun. With cleaning techniques, people can clean their clothes together. The effect is equivalent to wiping with warm water and drying, very useful. After tidying up his personal hygiene, Gao Xian completed his daily required homework and lay in bed, half asleep and half awake, his consciousness entering the depths of his eyebrows. Lan Jie in the boudoir welcomed Gao Xian and gently helped him undress and take off his shoes. After completing all the programs, Gao Xian fell asleep with satisfaction. The next day, Gao Xian got up early and, taking advantage of his mental state, took out the wind and moon treasure mirror. He is accustomed to using his consciousness to immerse himself in sensing the wind and moon treasure mirror while practicing the great puppet god technique with Sister Lan. Looking at data but liking to take out the wind and moon treasure mirror, holding it in hand feels more authentic. The data has increased in recent days, with alchemy showing the fastest growth. The mysterious god powder has been elevated to the level of a master, and he has refined several rounds of pills, which has made significant progress in his alchemy. There have also been improvements in techniques such as fire control, water control, and cleansing. Flipping over and looking at the back of the Fengyue Baojian, the humanitarian spirit light has been increasing sporadically in the past 2 days, totaling 20 points. It is obvious that these humanitarian lights are brought by deer antler powder. Calculating that there are still 170 scattered deer antlers in hand, this is the 170 points of human spirit light. Unfortunately, Old Wang's efficiency in selling medicine is too poor. For the sake of humanity, Gao Xian is willing to give away deer antler powder for free. The main medicinal material used for refining deer antler powder is also not valuable. However, people like Lao Wang don't appreciate it. Giving him deer antler powder for free will only make him more greedy. Calculating the time, Lao Wang should also come these 2 days. Gao Xian originally didn't have much regard for Old Wang. Last time, Old Wang's fierce and wolf-like appearance made him very wary. The Pegasus market has order, and generally speaking, no one publicly kills people in the Pegasus market. In private, it's hard to say. From the original owner's memory, there are often people in the Pegasus collection who die tragically. No one will investigate the killer either. Old Wang is a person who goes hunting in the mountains all year round and earns money with his head up. It's really very dangerous. The most dangerous thing is that Old Wang is very greedy and short-sighted. Perhaps a few dozen inferior spirit stones can inspire Old Wang's killing spirit. It's like someone throwing nails on the highway just to earn money for tire repairs. He won't consider how dangerous it is to do this, or rather he doesn't care about these risks at all. Gao Xian did not have the delusion of being persecuted. In the modern society of the previous life, there were various security issues. Not to mention this chaotic Pegasus collection, almost everyone knows magic. This is equivalent to everyone being fully armed, equipped with handguns, rifles, grenades, rocket launchers, and so on. In this environment, Gao Xian naturally lacks a sense of security. What's even more terrifying is that he doesn't seem to even have a decent pistol at first. He racked his brains to make up for the deficiency of the pill. Later, he discovered that the original owner had a connection with Zhu Qinyang, and he breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. At least Zhu Qinyang won't really do anything to him. With deer antler powder, the deficit in the pill can always be filled. There is no need to worry too much about this matter. The most important issue now is personal safety. The cultivation of the 5 elements technique increases slightly every day, and it will take hundreds of days to upgrade. Moreover, improving cultivation does not necessarily mean an increase in combat effectiveness. Gao Xian listed all the spells he knew, and the fire control technique was a bit harmful, but its power was pitifully low. Feather flying technique can make the body light like feathers and jump very high. It is very convenient to use jumping walls to climb houses, maintaining the effect for about 10 minutes. This spell is useful, but not very useful. Electric Dragon Subduing Hand, unless you can catch the opponent in one go, there is a high chance that the opponent will lose their resistance. He has never fought since childhood and has no combat experience at all. Faced with a practitioner reaching out to grab the other person, the risk is too high. The Great Dipper Divine Technique makes it even more impossible to directly fight. The only combat skill mastered by the original owner is the Qin Feng sword technique. Gao Xian looked at the pine-patterned steel sword in front of him. It should be a pure steel blade, 3 feet long, with beautiful pine wood texture on it, weighing 7 pounds. It's enough to use it to chop people. Even with ordinary iron armor, a sharp stab with a sword is enough to pierce through the armor. Gao Xian has tried, and with the flow of magic within his body, his strength, endurance, and agility far surpass those of ordinary people. But among cultivators, he is just a weak chicken practicing the second level of qi. Holding a pine-patterned steel sword and dancing the sword flower, Gao Xian skillfully sheathed his sword. The original owner has also practiced swordsmanship for some time, and completing these simple movements is effortless. Gao Xian tried to use the electric light dragon subduing hand to draw his sword, and the blade shone out of its sheath, but it did not achieve the desired effect. The electric dragon hand is fast, but it is limited to the fingers, palms, and wrists. Swordsmanship requires coordinated movements throughout the body, including the waist, back, shoulders, forearms, and hands, all of which require joint effort. No matter how fast the electric dragon slaying hand is, it is difficult to perform in this full body movement. This disappointed Gao Xian a bit. If the electric light dragon subduing hand can be used in swordsmanship, it can greatly enhance its combat power. Unfortunately, Gao Xian was sitting in bed pondering how to become stronger when he suddenly heard a very faint voice. After practicing the great puppet god technique, his perception became very sensitive. Under normal circumstances, he wouldn't even pay attention to these naturally occurring slight sounds. Only abnormal changes will immediately trigger his inner alertness, and then use the six senses to sense many subtle changes in the outside world. Gao Xian couldn't see the outside situation, but through the subtle changes in his voice, he was able to outline the situation in his mind. A person just climbed over the wall and entered the yard, with light movements. Is it Lao Wang again? He had an intuition that it wasn't Lao Wang who came this time because the taste was different. The taste here is not a smell, but a feeling of various information combined. Gao Xian nervously grabbed two talismans and came to the window, carefully looking out through the cracks in the window paper. A woman in black walked lightly towards the door. A woman in her 30s has smooth facial features and a graceful and alluring figure. She walks with twisted waist and legs, exuding a charming charm. Gao Xian was shocked. Who is this again? Why does it look a bit familiar? End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Friendship between gentlemen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Friendship between gentlemen. Gao Xian has a problem, which is that the original owner's memory is incomplete, and many people do not remember many things. Since this woman has a familiar face, the original owner must know her. Just don't know what the relationship between the two is. Judging from the appearance of a woman, I always feel that the other person is a bit less serious. Since last time Zhu Qinyang came to find him, Gao Xian knew that the original owner was not a fuel-efficient lamp. The woman skillfully tried to push the door in, but found it stuck inside. She thought for a moment and raised her hand to lightly tap the door, saying, "Ah Xian, it's me." There was a hint of closeness in the woman's words, which made Gao Xian in the room a bit panicked. He couldn't remember anything. Gao Xian didn't want to open the door, but a wooden door couldn't stop the cultivator. This woman looks at the accumulation of essence. Why is she in the middle stage of qi cultivation? If the other party forcefully barges in, it will be even more difficult to deal with. After much thought, Gao Xian still opened the door and let the person in. He was thinking about how to say hello when the woman rushed into his arms. Gao Xian was startled and almost triggered the Geng Jin's sword talisman held in his left hand. Fortunately, he has always been cautious and knows that the talismans are powerful, so he dare not strike lightly. The woman didn't know these things. She warmly hugged Gao Xian and said, "Ah Xian, I miss you so much. Have you missed me?" The woman's soft body was like a hidden fire, and even the hot Gao Xian couldn't catch his breath. He naturally reached out and grabbed the woman's slender waist. Through a layer of Taoist robe, Gao Xian could clearly feel the woman's tight and smooth skin, and feel the undulating curves. Gao Xian and Lan Jie practice the great puppet god technique every day and have gained some practical experience. Lan Jie surpasses this woman 100 or 1,000 times in terms of figure, appearance, temperament, charm, and even technical skills. However, women are living beings, which feels completely different psychologically. Moreover, women are so fresh. At least for Gao Xian, that's the case. Just like people who eat Manchu and Han banquets every day, they won't refuse to occasionally eat street snacks. Gao Xian was a social animal in his previous life, with little experience in men and women, but he was an exceptionally reserved and coquettish person. Faced with the woman who voluntarily came to his door, his heart immediately stirred, and he moved uncontrollably. The two of them breathed in opposition, their breath intertwined. Suddenly, a memory flashed in Gao Xian's mind. The woman's name was Qingping, a practitioner of the 5 layers of qi, and the red blood pill was bought from her. The relationship between Qingping and the original owner is a simple male-female relationship. Gao Xian remembered Qingping's situation and immediately knew that this little rascal was not a good person. The reason is very simple. The red blood pill is very domineering. Although the original owner was lucky enough to break through to the 2nd level of qi cultivation after eating the red blood pill, his divine soul collapsed and he died directly. Good people who would give their friends this kind of pill. Gao Xian comforted himself in his heart, so let's cooperate and not show any flaws. Qingping was embraced by Gao Xian, and as she was about to move, Gao Xian's hand slid down her spine. After finishing her work, Qingping collapsed on the bed, covered in sweat. The morning light through the window paper hit Qingping, outlining a graceful undulating curve, as if her whole body was shining. Qingping is already fair, with a fine sweat all over her body, like adding a layer of transparent glaze, making her visually more warm, full, and lively, very beautiful. Gao Xian didn't touch Qingping, just kindly helped massage and relax. Of course he was very tempted, but he was a little afraid of this woman's danger. No matter how good a woman is, her fate is always important. Out of caution, this way of communication is more friendly and civilized, while also maintaining distance. Qingping slowly regained consciousness from her ultimate state of comfort. She grabbed Gao Xian's hand and curiously asked, "Good brother, when will you learn this move?" "It's too bad." Qingping's voice was soft and smooth, with a hint of satisfaction followed by laziness, and a hint of pleasure like anger. Although Gao Xian was very wary of Qingping, he was still quite pleased to hear her say so. How many men don't like being praised by women? Maybe there is, anyway Gao Xian is not that kind of person. Gao Xian didn't know what to say, he could only show a polite smile. Qingping cuddled up with Gao Xian's arm, her face full of concern, and asked, "Good brother, how are you using the red blood pill? Is the effect okay?" Speaking of the red blood pill, Gao Xian immediately calmed down. The original owner died because of this medicine. If this woman really likes the original owner, she wouldn't be willing to use such a domineering pill for the original owner. Qingping nestled in Gao Xian's arms, unable to see Gao Xian's changing face. She is currently immersed in the lingering joy and feels quite sluggish. "Good brother, you are still young and have a deep foundation. You can use the red blood pill to quickly improve your cultivation. Especially since you are currently in the critical stage of bone strengthening and blood exchange on the 2nd floor, the red blood pill is perfect for you. While I can still buy it now, you can buy 2 more as a backup." Gao Xian sighed in his heart, thinking he was a canon friend, but it turned out to be a medicinal support. Buy a few more, one will be fatal. This woman is really not afraid of death. He looked embarrassed and said, "The red blood pill is good, but I don't have the money. I didn't know how to fill in the gap from last time I bought medicine." Qingping turned her head and hugged Gao Xian's neck with a look of heartache, saying, "You are an alchemist and have a bright future. Why stay in a small pharmacy? Follow my sister and I will help you find a place to refine pills. You definitely have more prospects than staying in a pharmacy." Gao Xian is a bit panicked. This woman is not only a drug dealer, but also a human trafficker. He quickly refused, that's not possible. My master will kill me. Qingping sighed and gently caressed Gao Xian's cheek. You're an adult now, you don't have to always listen to your master. Gao Xian shook his head and said, one day is a teacher, and one life is a father. Although the master in my memory was very strict, even cold. But it's no more reliable than this woman. Qingping, seeing Gao Xian's determination, could only say, don't worry, sister welcomes you at any time. When you've figured it out, come find sister. The words were somewhat incongruous, but Qingping dressed neatly and her attitude towards Gao Xian was noticeably indifferent. Do you still have Bai Lu Dan? Give me some. No more, I have exchanged the white dew pill for the red blood pill for you. Gao Xian shook his head, even if he had it, he couldn't have taken it out to Qingping. He could see that this woman was not polite at all, even eating and taking. I don't know how the original owner got married to such a person. Qingping was clearly even more unhappy. She suppressed her anger and said, you need to refine more white dew pills. I urgently need them. Gao Xian is also a bit unhappy, and I don't owe you anything. I haven't charged you for the massage yet. Not to mention the fate of the original owner, this life must be recorded on Qingping's head. This woman has so much nonsense, I really thought he was just licking a dog. He has Lan by his side, damn it, no one licks it. Qingping noticed that Gao Xian's face was not good, and she also realized that her tone was a bit too harsh. She coquettishly pointed her finger at Gao Xian's chest and said, as a big man, you need to have magnanimity. Don't just show it on your face when you're unhappy. I'm not doing it all for you. As she spoke, Qingping took out a yellowed book from her arms and handed it to Gao Xian, I have found the spell you want. She also emphasized, this is from my sister. Gao Xian took the book and couldn't help but smile on his face. Thank you, Sister Ping. Qingping is also a bit funny, her face has changed so quickly. But it's also good, the child's personality is easy to coax and deceive. Alas, this face is really beautiful, it can talk and play. She really can't bear to part with it. Qingping lovingly touched Gao Xian's face and said, practice well. Sister, come and see you in a few days. End of this chapter.